Well, New York City Police Commissioner William Bratton has stepped down yesterday, leaving many questioning what's in store for the future of the NYPD. Joining us now to share with this take on this particular subject and also about a recent interaction with an officer from the department. We welcome now to the studio Assemblyman from the 79th District, Michael Blake, and good to have you, Mr. Assemblyman.
Good to see you again.
As we share a little bit about, you had a recent incident with the New York City police officer, and you were at an event, and you filed an excessive force complaint with the department. As you gave your report, you also asked for an apology, which you didn't get from the police commissioner. We'll talk about that in a second, but for our Bronxites, could you just walk us through the experience of what happened on that day?
Well, what occurred, unfortunately, occurs to too many black and brown men in our city and our state, where the decision was made to use excessive force rather than try and de-escalate the situation. At about 3:37 p.m. this past Saturday, we had a family day event out at Morris Houses. I arrive, I see a woman is in handcuffs. I see another woman is being pulled away by a gentleman, unclear what their relationship is. As one of the elected officials for that area, I'm trying to find out what's happening. I'm talking to them, speaking to some of the police officers that have recognized me before, and then within a few seconds I hear a commotion about 15 feet behind me. I go back towards the commotion to try to tell people to calm down, and within 2 seconds I'm in a bear hug, being grabbed, being slammed against the gate by an officer who didn't ask me any situation, any questions at all. The only reason he gets off of me is because another officer recognized me and said, "Get off of him," which then I immediately said, we all know this situation spirals out of control if they didn't recognize me. I then asked him, why was that level of force being utilized? There's no weapon, there was no threat, there's no reason to determine that there would be that case, no clear answer. I then was asked to go speak to the officer who then grabbed me, who says that he apologizes. However, this partner is like a brother to him, and if the situation presented itself, he would do the same thing. So it's kind of a half-hearted apology. So then I filed the complaint because there was no reason for that level of force. There was no reason for that level of threat. There was no weapon. There was no indication at all for that kind of treatment to occur.
Now, let me jump in here because there was reports, and there are reports clarified for us, that you put your hands on an officer.
If I touched the cop, I should have been arrested. 2011, Councilman Jumaane Williams and Kirsten John Foy, West Indian Day Parade, this same nonsense occurred, where they said supposedly Jumaane punched the cop in the face. So again, if I did that, you should have arrested me. Also, on Saturday afternoon, the officer who grabbed me never said that I supposedly touched another officer, nor did his partner, nor did any other officer indicate that. However, after I filed my complaint, after it's gone to press, then all of a sudden I supposedly touched the cop. So we have to really ask ourselves, why does this nonsense continue, where someone is determining that this is the level of appropriate force at all, and after the fact then trying to indicate what they supposedly thought occurred. So the reality is, fortunate I was recognized. If I wasn't recognizable on Saturday, I don't know if I'm recognizable today. I'm fortunate that someone realized who I was, but there are a lot of people that don't have my name and my title who get that same kind of treatment every single day, who deserve that same level of fairness, same level of justice. So there has to be a question of what's happening around the training. This was an NCO. This is an individual who's supposed to be implementing community policing, who clearly had no idea who his elected officials were and thought that was the appropriate reaction.
Let me ask a question about, you met with police brass and immediately following there. You had a couple of meetings discussing the incident. What occurred? And I know one of the things that you were looking for was an apology, to which now the former commissioner said that he would not give you. And your thoughts?
Well, it's completely disrespectful in every accord. So let's walk through what happened on Sunday. Mayor de Blasio reaches out without knowing all the facts, apologizes for such an incident to occur. Because again, the police did not deny what it did occur. So we know there was some level of excessive force that occurred, and their justification is, I supposedly did something. So Mayor de Blasio apologizes. Chief O'Neill reaches out after I reach out to him to say we're going to figure out what happened here. Commanding Officer O'Sullivan also reaches out. Let's find out what's happening here. Monday, I do a press conference in front of One Police Plaza. Myself, Councilman Jumaane Williams, Kirsten John Foy, members of the Justice League, Donna Lieberman from Civil Liberties Union, to indicate that this level of injustice consistently occurs. And the reality is, because I'm an elected official, there's greater awareness around that. I immediately said I want to have a meeting with Commissioner Bratton, which we reached out to City Hall staff to make that request. We go to 1PP. We meet with Commissioner Bratton, who indicates that he has a few minutes to meet because he has to go up to the Bronx. No apology offered. Says he's aware of the facts, says he's been briefed on the situation. And then Daren, less than an hour after meeting with me, is in the Bronx for a press conference where he indicates, number one, No apology is forthcoming from me. How disrespectful can that be? And then number two, while realizing that it was less than 48 hours after the incident, he says that no action will be taken against the officer, even though the investigation had just begun. Why would people have faith in the system if that's what's happening? If you're actually saying, I don't care what comes out of this investigation, nothing's going to happen to this cop, where no one has indicated otherwise that the cop did not use excessive force. So because I'm an elected official, there's awareness that happened around that. But what happens to the people that are not Michael Blake? What happens to the people that are not recognizable? That is the exact reason why people are saying enough is enough, that this kind of nonsense and injustice cannot continue, that black and brown men are seen as threats and victims and criminals out the gate and not even given the decency of an apology nor the opportunity for a fair investigation.
Had you any knowledge of the police commissioner's intent to step down?
Say it again?
Did you have any
No.
knowledge about the police
No.
commissioner's intent to step
Not
down?
at all.
So knowing that he stepped down now, what does that mean for you, given the fact that you have a current investigation going on, but what do you feel that that means in a larger scheme of things?
I think that it gives people a chance to finally believe in the system again, where, you know, when you go from stop and frisk to broken windows, that people consistently are feeling, do they have a chance in these communities? And when you watch what happened, where you have a police commissioner who is saying to an elected official, I don't care what comes out of this investigation, nothing's going to happen to this officer, people can't believe they would have a chance. I think now they may finally believe they have an opportunity. You know, Chief O'Neill, who's the incoming commissioner, is a former commanding officer in the Bronx at the 4-4 precinct. He was at 2-5 in East Harlem. He was raised in East Flatbush. He was a transit officer in the A&D train. There's an opportunity for someone who actually understands parts of the community, who, again, without knowing the facts, this is the difference between two individuals. Commissioner Bratton decided to not respond, to tell me he had to rush to a meeting and then went and apologize. Chief O'Neill, without knowing any of much of the facts, immediately responds back, says we're going to find out what's happening. Yesterday, I called to congratulate him on probably the busiest day of his life. He calls back to say we need to meet immediately. It's an indication of a different perspective that can happen here. And so for me, hopefully my experience can be a part of catalytic change to try to move this conversation forward.
Now, we do need to tell our viewers, though, the fact that the police commissioner did step down had nothing to do, per se, with your incident.
No, but I think we have to recognize that 2 weeks ago, Commissioner Bratton was saying that he was stepping down at the end of next year. And then all of a sudden, within a 4-day experience where then he tells an elected official, pretty much, I don't care what just happened to you, there will be no action against the officer. Now he's leaving in a month. I'm not going to allude to try to say that my situation was what finally prompted it, but it definitely was a part of the straw that probably broke the camel's back.
So when you look at what's going on right now with police-community relations, obviously we know there's certain community leaders. I know the Reverend Al Sharpton has said that it's important for incoming Commissioner O'Neill to meet with the community and have that conversation. And even hearing some of his comments, he says he's not all too optimistic. He hasn't got all the facts yet. Your thoughts on the fact that there's still a cloud of misunderstanding, and not even misunderstanding is probably a bad word to use, but a cloud that still circles police-community relations, even with the new commissioner coming in.
Just approximately 2 weeks ago, as a member of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, I hosted a conversation between cops and the community across the street where this incident happened, at the Claremont Neighborhood Community Center, a fantastic community development site ran by Abraham Jones, the same facility where we hosted the Public Safety Town Hall that Mayor de Blasio, Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson was the chair of Public Safety, we all co-hosted together. So we've already started to take those steps. Last night for National Night Out, I was at 5 different stops to say, if I am able to go through this experience, this level of humiliation, this level of racism, this level of discrimination that occurred for me, and say we must move forward as a people because these kids are watching us right now and they're watching what we're going to be doing, then I'm asking for all of us to move forward. So for me, the community relations and police relations has to take the next step to multiple degrees. Number one, how do we ensure that there is more hiring of officers that are from these communities? Number two, how are we more clearly aware of the definitions of use of force and excessive force? Number three, why were there more than 30 police officers on the scene at Morris Houses and an officer in distress call placed at that time? Number four, let's be very clear about what's happening around the training and the NCO program. And lastly, but definitely not least, what are the strategies that are going to be taken to de-escalate situations, to give people the benefit of the doubt, and to make sure that we're addressing the deeper issues of providing better schools, actually hiring from communities, providing economic opportunity so that communities can have a chance in the first place. This is an area, Daren, where at Morris Houses, I've given out school supplies, book bags, Christmas gifts. I've been over there to help read the kids. This is an area where they know me. While the incident had just completed itself, there were constituents and cops walking up to me saying, "Are you okay, Assemblyman?" So the reality is, even in the heat of the moment, we were able to figure out a way of saying, you know what, everybody, I know everyone's upset, I hear you, let's figure out where we move from here. Because the only way we're going to make progress is if we figure out in this moment that we have to unite. The racial tensions and the tension between the cops and the community is at an all-time high that we've experienced in this generation. We now have to say, what are the concrete steps we're going to do? And this goes back to everything we talk about for our 3-2-1 vision of economic development, education, and equality. The only way we're going to have true reform is by addressing everything at one time, not just one piece at a time.
Where does your complaint go from here?
We have filed a complaint with the Civilian Complaint Review Board. We will be moving forward with that level of investigation. We'll be having interviews that will occur itself, and we'll determine what the next steps may be. You know, in conversation with our counsel, Royce Russell, who has a stellar track record in these instances, we're going to be figuring out how to elevate this and make sure that we don't lose sight of, while there was one step of progress that did occur in terms of the change of leadership, that we don't want to lose sight that excessive force was utilized. And there have to be changes in this system, there have to be changes in this process, and only through investigations and through justice will people believe that could be possible.
What would you like to see happen through this experience?
Well, there definitely should be some form of disciplinary action against the officer. The reality is the NYPD has not once indicated that excessive force did not occur. They just try to convey and try to confuse the scenario by saying, well, supposedly he touched someone's shoulder, even though, again, if I did, you should have arrested me. In which there also are multiple examples of individuals and officers lying about what occurred. Now, let's be clear, 95% of officers do the right thing, 95% people in the community do the right thing. But when 5% do something wrong, justice should occur. So there should be some form of action against the officer in some form of fashion. But then beyond that, clear training and understanding of what is the training around implicit race bias, what is the training around the NCO program, what is the practices of actually hiring more individuals in the community, especially since more funding has gone towards hiring or retention. We want to see concrete steps that happen in that manner, but then on top of that, beyond just the immediacy of the criminal justice dynamic, there has to be the broader challenges that are addressed at the same time. How do you improve the schools? How do you improve economic development? How do you change the exclusion policy that exists in NYCHA right now, where if someone is arrested, they can be evicted from that premises, and if they visit someone in that premises, the family can then be evicted from there? There are so many things that this moment can hopefully be utilized for. I am hopeful that not just an officer is disciplined, but that we're able to change the system.
Lastly, about incoming Commissioner O'Neill, are you optimistic?
I am, because I think the reality of the swiftness of the change demonstrates that there's an attentiveness to the seriousness of the environment. And I shared this with a few folks yesterday after Reverend Sharp and others and I did a press conference. I really do believe that Commissioner O'Neill, when he comes in, has the chance to reform the city. He's a chance to try to heal very deep pain and hurt that exists right now between the Black, white, Latino, and Asian communities throughout the city. And this is an opportunity where we can turn crisis and challenge into opportunity.
All right, Assemblyman Michael Blake, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you.